Hi everyone, good evening. Hello guys, I hope I'm audible. Am I audible? Am I visible? Hello everyone, hi. I can see 17 people here, not more than that. Please join, please join. And I hope I'm audible and visible to all of you. Bilal says yes, Samita says yes, Junaid says Assalamu alaikum walaikum salam. Hello everyone, hi guys, good evening. Loud and clear, perfect, perfect, perfect. So we will just wait 1 or 2 minutes for rest of the people to join, and then we will start our class. Good evening, Smita. Hello, Shazib. Hi, Arbina. Hi, everyone. Hello, guys. Hello, Prince. Happy Sunday to you as well. Perfect. I'm audible, right? Great. So let me put it in the WhatsApp group as well, and then we will start. Walaikum salam. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Perfect. Great. I can see 23 students here. We just need more 26 people to start, and then we will start. Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing very well. And in your Google Classroom, there's one assignment that we have launched. I hope you have been attempting that as well. I can see few submissions, not entirely. All the students have not submitted that yet, but you have one another day. Please make sure that you submit the assignment as soon as you can. Hello, Adil. Hi, Akansha. Hi, Sharath. Hi, Divya. Good evening, everyone. Hey, Shivani. Good evening. I guess without wasting our time, we can start with our class. Walaikum salam, Sadi. Walaikum salam. Please ask your friends in the WhatsApp group to join quickly. Put a message there so that they can join and we can start our session. Let me start sharing my screen. I hope my screen will be visible in 1 or 2 seconds. Please let me know once my screen is visible. Good evening, Shilpa. Good evening. Is it visible, guys? Give me a confirmation. Perfect. Great, great. Good evening, Arka. Good evening. It's up. Very good. So I guess we can start with our class. So in our previous class, we had a very good discussion around few things. We try to understand when a particular web page is opened in a browser, how browser looks at the web page. That's what we try to understand. We understood what box model is. We understood what block level and inline level elements are, and we also understood what's the difference between div and span. I can still see only 33 people here. That's something that I'm not happy about. It should be at least a 60 plus right now. So that's something that we need to think about very very seriously. Right? Only 34 people. Not enough. Not enough. Please ask your friends to join quickly in the WhatsApp group so that we can start. 34 is not enough, guys. Come on. We have 200 students in this batch, and unfortunately, most of them do not join. Not sure why, but we need to take some strict action around this, right? Even only if you 36 guys join, I'm completely happy with that. But I just want, in that case, only you 36 to 39 people, not more than that. But let's start now. Let's not waste our time in that. Let's start our class. See, what are we currently trying to do? We are trying to learn and understand how to create websites. Now, when we talk about creating websites, there are a lot of things that we need to keep in our mind, and we are trying to learn them one by one. In today's class, we will understand 3 to 4 topics very importantly. One of the most important topics in HTML CSS, not just with respect to creating websites, but from the interview perspective, very much. Let's start with the first basic topic, and let's try to understand about two types of elements. See, we are currently discussing CSS and HTML together. But I think in order to move forward with more CSS, we need a little bit more HTML first, a content so that we can style it. The first topic that we are going to discuss in terms of HTML is HTML lists and tables. This is something that we need to understand in today's class, and then followed by we will understand what CSS colors are. We will understand what font families are, font units are, and length units are. We will understand those as well. Let's start with lists. We know that we are trying to build a website, and when we say a website, it simply means blocks of content. And in blocks of content, we understood a lot of things. We understood simple text, paragraph text, heading text, mark text, so on and so forth. We also understood images and maybe some other things as well. But one, if we talk about our text formatting, with respect to text formatting, there are a lot of things that we need to keep in mind. When we talk about lists, what is the picture that comes up in your mind? I would simply say maybe items like this. I would simply say one, whatever the text is, two, whatever the text is, three, whatever the text is. Don't you think this is also one of the formats that you might want to see on your website as simply list items? In front of that, you simply want a numbered format, or maybe you want some bullet points. So you want simply bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, maybe something like this: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Or maybe you want something like this. When you work on Word document, over there you see these kind of formats very often used. Maybe you want something like this: A, B, C. The point over here is whatever this example is, or this example, this specific format talks about a very specific type of content called as HTML lists. Now, when we say lists, what does come in? What comes into your mind? Simply some items, maybe your grocery items, maybe your shopping items, maybe whatever. But the point is, before all those items individually, you see a specific format. It's actually about that. What format I want in front of my in before my list items. Now, when we talk about HTML lists, there are three types of HTML lists that we have. I'm going to teach you two only. Third, I will share a link later on. Number first type of list is in which you see items are there but provided with a proper order of format. You can see 1, 2, 3, it's a proper order of format. ABC, it's a proper order of format. Maybe you will simply say 1 Roman, 2 Roman, 3 Roman, and then maybe 4 Roman. This can be your ordered list as well. Now, whenever you have a list that has a ordering in front of their format, such types of lists are called ordered list. What are they called? Ordered list. Now, if you have a list in which there is no numbering in front of this, there's no order in front of the format, such types of lists are called unordered list. So as of now, we understood that there are two types of lists. Number one is called ordered list. Number two is called unordered list. Now let's try to understand in our code what exactly and how we can create such kinds of lists inside our web application. Please pay a close attention here because there are a lot of things that we need to understand with respect to list and when we have to combine our CSS with it. Okay. So let me close these files and let's try to create a very new file here. And let me name this list.html. In this list.html, what am I going to do? I'm simply going to get the boilerplate. I will remove these meta tags. We don't know what it is. We don't know what lang is. We don't know what doc type as of now is. Although I can discuss them in 2 seconds, not more than that, but we will discuss that later on. This is what we have discussed. This is the boilerplate we have discussed. So I will create a h1 and I will put a heading over there called as ordered list. Okay. Now, when we talk about ordered list, as you can see, ordered means O, list means L. Now, over here, if I simply go, there's a tag and element that stands for OL. You can clearly see it's a complete element over there. Whenever you wrap your list in this tag, you get an ordered list. Simple as that. And I'm pretty much sure most of you already know this. So let me move quickly fast. If I go live with this particular code that I have, you don't see anything in the output. You can see only one small thing, that is your ordered list, nothing else, right? That's it. You don't see anything else. But what's the point of this OL tag in that case? If there's nothing here, what is the point of OL tag? The point of OL tag is that we need to put list items inside it so that it can put a format on that. For list item, single individual list item, the tag and element we use is called li. And let's suppose HTML. And you can clearly see I have my ordered list in our output. So let me put CSS, let me put JavaScript. The point is not actually these items. These items you can get even in unordered list as well using the same tag. But the point is when you wrap these list items under OL, this is what you will get. 1, 2, 3. Now you can say, sir, I don't want 1, 2, 3. I want ABC. For that, we can use CSS. Even there's an attribute that I remember called as type attribute. So you can simply put type attribute over there. Remember, now a lot of people say if you want to change this 1, 2, 3 to ABC or small ABC, you need to use CSS. No, but this ordered list has an attribute type as well, with help of which you can change this 1, 2, 3 to ABC or whatever you want. So if I put capital A here, you can clearly see the order of my list has got changed from 1, 2, 3 to ABC. If I change it to small ABC. And what other values do I have here? I have I. So if I put this I, you can clearly see Roman 1, 2, 3. If I put small I, lowercase 1, 2, 3. So type attribute, this will be your question in your assignment as well. What does type attribute do? So remember this, type attribute allows you to change the format numbering, not format. Format will be still ordered. The format numbering, what is the type of numbering I want in front of my ordered list. I hope this makes sense. Please give me a quick confirmation in the chat whether we understood what ordered lists are not. Quickly, everyone. If yes, then let me move forward. In a similar way, I have unordered list. Now, when we talk about unordered list, what do I actually mean? I mean simply list items over there without a numbering, without an order over there. So for that, the element that we use is called UL, stands for unordered list. So if anyone tells you, tell me what's the tag for ordered list, you don't have to think anything, simply ordered list stands for OL. Unordered list stands for UL, unordered list, right? So whenever we talk about ordered list, we want a list in which we simply want the items to be aligned in the output, but with a specific format, like numbering 1, 2, 3. You simply put one there, you can see 1, 2, 3. If I put one another LI here, let me write something there, okay? Let me write Adfar. You can see it automatically got assigned in front of 4. That's what ordered list means there. If I simply go here, put Li, and let me write over there React, you can see automatically what 5 got in front of it. But if I change this from one type attribute of OL tag, from 1 to, let's suppose over there, I will write A, it will be A, B, C, D, E. That's it. That's what we will have. Simple as that. I hope now it's clear. Now, when I talk about unordered list, let me take the same data that I have placed in between of this OL. The same data I will place now in between of my UL. Do you see a clear difference between why this is called ordered and why this is called unordered? These are now bullet points in front of you. Bullet points. That's what we mean by ordered list and unordered list. Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation, sir. We understood what difference between these two elements are. Okay. If we are clear, we understood what OL does to set of list tags. We understood what UL does to set of list items. I have a simple question. This is what I want. This type of list I want. Maybe I want, A in front of A. I simply want, let's suppose, sickles. And over here below to this, I want bullet points. So sickle, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then B over there. In front of this, I want maybe interests. And in front of interests, I will put bullet points. Maybe music, coding, and dancing. Maybe I have one last item over there that says hobbies. So what am I trying to create over there? I am trying to create a simple nested list right now, which means this list has a combination of both ordered and unordered. Maybe even instead of bullet points, maybe over here I have 1, 2, 3. Maybe fishing, driving, and maybe what else? The point is, this list that I have over there is a nested list. How can I create this? This is something that might be given to you in interview. Although let me be very clear here, very frank here, that these questions are not asked in the interviews, not to the people who know what web development is. Maybe to freshers for internship roles, maybe these questions might be asked, but not necessarily. Okay. Now, if I want to create a list that looks like this, let me jump to VS Code and let me try to make you understand what we have to do in these cases. Let me put H1 and I will simply say my profile. Okay. Now, see, whenever you have a nested list that you want to create, come from the outer list. Now, your outer list A, B, C, skills, interests, hobbies. Is it a ordered or unordered list? A, B, C. Everyone must reply. Is it a ordered or unordered? Come on, guys. Very good. It is. It is ordered list. Now, in order to create a ordered list, I will use a tag called as OL. Now, in OL, to create single individual items, what is the tag that we use? List item. So I will simply create list item in front of which I will simply write skills. Then second thing, I will go write list item and in front of this I will write interests. Very good. Then finally I will go create one other list item in front of which I will create hobbies. Now tell me one thing. If you compare this list where my cursor is with this list, are they same? Of course not. This is ordered list, this is ordered list, but over here I have 1 2 3, over here I have ABC. Now tell me, how would I do that? How will I change without using CSS my ordered list 1 2 3 to my ABC? How do I do that? Come on, guys. I will use an attribute called as, very good. I will use an attribute called as type. Type is equals to A. Very good. So on the ordered list, I will simply go use a type attribute called as A. And you can clearly see it says A, B, C. That's it. Very good. Now, if you closely look now, every item over there individually has another list, whether ordered or unordered. That's something that we need to understand, but the point is every list item, can I say this skills have a list, a set of list items individually as well? Yes. For that, simply between this, after skills, I will create the list that I want to create, which is in this case ordered list. In this, sorry, unordered list, it is unordered list because there are bullet points, and in this unordered list I will simply go write my HTML, write my CSS over there. So list item, and I will simply go write CSS, and then finally list item over here, and I will simply go JavaScript. Right? Very good, simple. So you can clearly now compare this particular first half of my list with this, and it's absolutely matching. It's absolutely matching. Now, in a similar way, I want to create two list items over here, but as a part of ordered list or unordered list. Let me create UL in which I will simply write music, and then finally I will go write my list item, and that will be my coding. Finally done this as well. And finally, below hobbies, I will create ordered list. So I will simply go create ordered list in which I will write list item, and let me write maybe fishing or whatever the items are. That's not necessarily mandatory here. That's completely okay, that we can alter, right? So you can completely compare this list right now with this list. Can we compare that? Yes or no? Can we compare that? Do you see that this list item is absolutely, what we are trying to create, what we were trying to create? Yes, sir, it is exactly that. So you need to understand now, it is not necessary that you will only think inside your UL there will be LI, not in LI there will be UL. Yes, depends on your requirement. You can see inside this list item, I created an unordered list. So you can do such things as well. Inside this list item, I created my ordered list. Maybe over here in front of this music, maybe for 1 second only. Over here, I have another list item. Maybe it says Roman 1, Roman 2, Roman 3. It says maybe Arijit Singh, maybe whatever, singer names, something like that. Which means now there's another level of list items that I have. So what will I do in that case? In this music, where I want to create a nested items, not outside of this list item, but in between of the list item that I have, over here I will write ordered list, and over here I will write list item, maybe A, then I will create list item, maybe B, so on and so forth. The point is, it depends on your requirement. What is the levels, how many levels you want? And you can clearly see this is what I have. Now for this, I don't want 1 2, I want Roman. So when we want to change the order, even without using CSS, I can use type over here, attribute on my ordered list. This attribute cannot be used on unordered list. Remember this, because order can be created and signified only for ordered list. If it is unordered list, you cannot change its type. Remember that. So let me put simply I, capital I here, and you can clearly see it's Roman 1 2. I hope you have gotten a clear understanding of what list items inside your HTML are. Am I clear? Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Perfect. Now, what is the second type of units that second type of elements that we need to discuss in today's class? That is tables, right? But I will put a halt on these tables as of now, because I don't want this session to be only what is this called, HTML driven. Let's now go to CSS and discuss one very important topic. Okay, what is that? Guys, when we talk about our text tags, okay, let me create a new file here, and the file name will be units.html. Okay, in which I will simply go create my HTML tag, then create my head tag like this, and then finally create my body tag like this. Please put a message in the WhatsApp group and put ask them to join, because now we are going to discuss one of the very important topics from HTML and CSS. If you sit in an interview and that interview is related to HTML and CSS, the topic that I am going to discuss, it is 100% time asked in the interviews. 100% time. That's how much important it is. So I will create a title. Please put a message in the WhatsApp group and ask them to join. The topic name is CSS units. Okay. And you will understand few very important things from the browser perspective as well. So please pay attention. In this body, I will simply create an h1 tag that says welcome to my batch, nothing else. And what I will do is I will simply try to open this inside our browser, and you can clearly see I have my output, right? Although this is zoomed, so let me unzoom it and make it perfect 100%. This is how text looks like. If I go, let me implement a p tag. P tag says hello something, whatever it is, right? Because text is irrelevant here. We want to create something in the web page, and that's what you can see. Perfectly fine. Maybe there is a div, an empty div here. It contains nothing. It is a container. As of now, I'm not putting anything inside this. Okay. Now, one very important point here. What is that? One very important point here. When we talk about text, when we talk about containers, or when we talk about even image as well, let me create an image. And for this SRC will be images and download.jpg. You can send image in the output. We all can agree to one point over here, that whenever we talk about content on the web page, it will have units, length, it will have height, it will have width, it will have font weight, it will have font size, depends on the element. For example, this particular image can have height, can have width, it can have a border as well. If I talk about this text here, this can be simply a text, can have font size, font weight, so on and so forth, height, width, as well. The point that I'm trying to make here, whenever I deal with my web page, elements will have length properties in front of which you will tell it, this is how much I want it, this is how big I want it, this is what I want, right? Do we all agree with that? That length units will be one of the very important things that we need to keep in our mind while designing a web page. That's what my topic is. So my topic, before I discuss my HTML tables, I have a very good topic here called as CSS units. Now, as of now, we will discuss. We have seen one particular unit called as pixels. Now, what do we mean by a pixel? Pixel, if we talk about in terms of length, it is 1 divided by 96th of inch. We know what inch is, right? Everyone knows that. So 1 divided by 96th of inch is 1 pixel. That's if we talk about mathematics. But we know what pixels are. We say that this is 32 pixel camera, 32 megapixel, something like that. So it's a unit with the help of which we measure something on our screen. So, for example, for this particular H1 tag, if I try to implement its style and I will simply go target it by H1, I will simply tell it my font size for this element is, let's suppose, 50 pixel. And if I see the output, you can see a valid change. But what am I trying to teach you right now? I am trying to make you understand that what if I don't want to use pixels? Is there any alternate of pixel? The answer is yes. You can write a lot of units. Okay, there is inch, there is centimeter, there is mm. You can do all of them. That's not what I'm here to discuss. But there is one very particular set of units, length units. Length units are those units that you can use in front of length properties. Now, what are length properties? Height can be it, width can be it, font size can be it, border can be it, even padding can be it, margin can be it. All of those properties, you put something that is my browser is expecting as a unit, as a length unit. So whenever we talk about such properties, it's not always necessarily it will be pixel. Now, what else it can be then? Whenever we talk about CSS units, there are two types of CSS units that we talk about. And remember, this is not units, normally it's length units. Number one is called absolute units. Number two is called relative units. Now, what do we mean by absolute unit and what do we mean by relative unit? Let's first of all try to understand that. I will give a simple example. Let's suppose I am saying that this mobile phone is 12 inches. Do you think that inch is, something that's not absolute? Do you think inch is not fixed here and it will always remain 12 inches only? Let's suppose. That's what my question is. Please put a yes or no in the chat. Do you think this its size will vary in future? No, it will always be fixed. So that particular unit that knows what it is. Pixel knows. One pixel knows that I will always be 1 divided by 96th of 1 inch. And it will always be this. So such units that are fixed and it will never vary, it will never change, no matter what will happen. Such units are called absolute units. But on the other hand, let me give you an example of relative units with the help of which you will understand. You open a website, right? Let's suppose you are right now watching this particular YouTube video on your laptop. So on your laptop, you see my name as Farishid. You see it with some unit. But on the other hand, when you go to mobile phone, do you see the same Adfar sheet with same font size and all these things same? Absolutely not. So it means there must be sometimes requirement in which we want some of the elements vary depending on something. So maybe it depends on my device width. I will tell it for this text that I have here, when it is opened in my laptop, so please make it this much. But if the same text is opened in my mobile phone, make it this much. Okay. So it means maybe at this point of time, if I look at with this perspective, I can say that the length unit of this text depends on something, which is device width. So if your length unit or width or height or any property depends on some other thing, such type of units are called relative units. Such type of units are called relative units when they are relative to something else. And if that something else changes its parameters, this is also going to be affected. And such units are called relative units. Am I clear? Do we understand the difference between absolute unit and relative unit? Right? Let me give you an example. Let me give you another example to make you understand. I have this lead here, okay? So I am simply saying that whatever whatever part of this lead is visible to you, that is the length of my Adfar sheet. But if I reduce it, Don't you think length of Adfarshi is also going to be reduced? Of course, yes. So it means length of Adfarshi depends on whatever size of this lead is visible. So it is not absolute, but it depends on something else. Such type of units are called relative units. I hope that makes sense. And when we talk about relative units, there are two relative units that we need to understand are very hot topic in terms of our interviews. Number one is called EM, number two is called REM, number three is called VH, number four is called VW, number five is called percent. So these are the five units that are relative units. It means when you put instead of pixel, I can write 10 pixel. It means I am telling it. Let's suppose for the text I am writing font size is equals to 10 pixel. It means on my laptop it will be 10 pixel. On my mobile phone it will be 10 pixel. On tab it will be 10 pixel. But if I write font size is equal to REM, it means I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but it is related to something else. If that something else changes, two times it will be part of that. That's what relative units mean. And let's now try to understand these one by one. I hope that I am clear with this. And as I said, 100% time this question is asked in the interviews related to HTML and CSS. Tell me what is the difference between EM and REM. This is like 100% time. 100% time means if you sit in interviews 10 times, 10 times this question will be asked in the interviews related to HTML and CSS. So please pay close attention here. Before I move forward, I have something else to discuss. Okay, we know from our previous class discussions that whenever we create any element, whether it is image, whether it is division, whether it is h1 and all those things, we know our browser implements some code on it by default. Yes or no? Which means you can see it's black in color. It's because browser has decided by default it will be black. You can see by default there is some font size of it, font weight of it. It's because of browser. That's what we have here. Let me try to go and let me remove this property for a second, which means I'm not creating any property on this web page. And let me try to go inside the inspect. In our last class, we tried to understand small thing of inspect, right? Let's suppose for this h1 tag, I want to see what are its properties. Do you see over here for this h1, by default, browser has placed it in front of this font size, margin, font weight, and all those things. There are some values, but do you see one particular value there called as EM? So font size of h1 is 2 EM. That's what browser has decided on its own. It means we don't know what EM is, but if EM later on changes, this h1 is also going to be changed. So when you create your elements, browser implements some design on it. And for your h1 tag, remember one very important point, which is browser implements 2 EM by default on that particular element. Let's now try to understand what EM is and what REM is. We will first of all start with the basic relative unit called as REM. Now, when we talk about REM, please pay close attention because I'm not going to give you all the definition in one line, but it will be divided into two parts. Okay. Now, when we say REM, what does it mean? It means that I can simply go here and I can simply tell it for my h1 tag. Do one thing, any length property. Let's start with font size. Please make it, let's say, 1 REM. And in front of REM, it's not necessary. You can see that style is getting changed. I can put also 10 REM, 20 REM, 100 REM, which means you can see a change in the output. It means REM is something, right? Let me make it 2 REM as of now. You can see something like this. When we talk about REM, 1 REM means relative to the font size, relative to the font size of root element, of root element. But what is root element? Root element is your HTML tag. So this particular element is called a root element. So whatever font size of this particular element is, that will be 1 REM. Now, if you don't understand this, it's completely okay. Let me make you understand this. And by default, browser implements font size on this HTML as 16 pixel. 16 pixel. But as of now, let me go, let me target this HTML tag. So I will go write HTML tag, and for this HTML tag is called a root element in your HTML. Remember this. Font size is, let's suppose, 20 pixel. So as I said, REM means relative to the font size of root element. So root element's font size is 20 pixel. So what is 2 REM? What is 2 REM? 2 into 1 REM, 2 into 20 pixel. That is very good. 40 pixel. Let's see whether it's 40 pixel here or not. I will go to inspect. And if I go to inspect on this H1 tag, you can see now H1 font size is 2 REM, but I'm not able to see it in pixel. But if I go, whenever you want to see in any case the computed value, like in pixels, you can go to this computed section. So if I go to computed section, drag a little bit down, what is the font size, guys? What is the font size? You can clearly see font size over here is 40 pixel. Let me divide my screen to two parts. Now, if this is 30 pixel, what will be the font size? Of course, 2 into 30 is 60. If I go over here and make this 4 into 30 is 120. You can clearly see 120 pixel. So REM, 1 REM simply means relative to the font size of root element. That's it. And that root element is HTML tag. Now, if you do not mention font size in any case, in that case, you need to remember font size is 16 pixel. By default, browser implements 16 pixel. So 16 into 4 is 64, and you can clearly see that. So if I implement 2, and 2 REM means 32 pixel. So I guess REM definition is clear. Give me a quick confirmation. We understood, sir, what REM means, what 1 REM means. Quickly. Okay, I have now one another question. If we understood, I can see yeses in the chat. If we understood what 1 REM means, let me remove this for now, okay? And let me go, let me target my HTML, and let me implement width over there. Width is equals to 20 pixel, okay? Now over here, I will go for this element and let me write H1. And for this H1, I will implement my width property. And let me say, I will implement it 4 REM. What will be the width of H1 tag? So if the width of HTML tag is 20 pixel, and for my H1 tag, width is 20 pixel, what will be the H1's width if I write 4 REM? Anyone? 4 REM. Sadi says 18. Sorry, 80. 80. 80. Anyone else? 80. I can see few answers 80. That's why I told you I will give you the answer in two parts. Although I gave you complete definition. Guys, read the definition here. The definition is relative to the font size of root element. Do you think this is font size property of root element? No. Even if you use width over there, even if you use height, if you use border, it does not matter. It's not like width will be related to the width, height will be related to height. No, it will always be relative to the font size of root element. It means what is the font size of root element? Even in this case, it is 16 pixel. So it means 4 REM means 16 into 4 is equals to 64. So you can see width is equals to 64. Am I clear? So let me repeat. Let me slowly repeat it. When I say 1 REM, I never said that width will be relative to the width of the root element. I said height property will be related to the height property. No, I used in terms of units. I said that whenever you use REM, it does not matter what the property is, whether it's width, whether it's height, whether it's border, padding, margin. As soon as you write in front of any of such properties, you write REM. REM will not go to its respective property, no, but it will always be relative to the font size of root element. It means even in this case, it will not find what is the width here. No, it will still find what is the font size here. So 4 into 16 is 64. So if I write over there 3 REM, 3 into 16 is 48, and you can clearly see width becomes 48. Give me a quick confirmation, everyone. That's how we understood what now we practically understood what REM means. Quickly. Again, if we understood, I can see few yeses in the chat. If we understood, let me write over there font size. I will write font size is equals to, let's say, 25 pixel. Then for this element over there, I will go write height over there. Okay, height. Let me write height property, or instead of height, let's say, okay, let's write height. So height over there is equals to REM. Tell me what is the height here in this case? What is the height in this case? What is the height in this case? And if I write even in this case for your, let me create a confusion. Let me say height is equals to 10 pixel. So what will be the height in this case? It will be 2 into font size of root element. Font size of root element is 25. So 2 into 25 means 50. 3 into font size of root element, 3 into 25, and it is 75. So if font size is mentioned, it will go to that. If it is not, then it will be 16. So I hope that makes sense. I hope with this, we have understood what 1 REM means. Okay. If we understood what 1 REM means, let's move a little bit forward and let's try to understand one very important property called as EM now. What does EM mean? In a similar way, how we used REM, we can also use EM. So EM means relative to the font size. By default, it is 16. Yes, Hari Kishore. By default, it's 16 if you do not mention it. If you mention it, then it will be overridden by that. But if you do not mention it, in that case, it will be 16. So Barjuna says 200. 200 for what? So when we say 1 EM, we know what 1 REM means. Let's try to understand what 1 EM means. 1 EM means relative to the font size of current element. Current element. Now here we need to understand what current element means, and this is something that you will enjoy, and you will really understand that now what actually EM means. There's a lot of half information on the internet. I have cleared these concepts by going through documentation, proper documentation. If you ask me from YouTube, trust me, I have not learned the complete understanding of it. So please pay attention. This is something that I have learned after reading the documentation. As of now, when we say 1 EM means relative to the font size of current element, let's try to understand. For this div, inside this div, I will implement h1 tag. And since I have implemented height and width, let me remove these two properties. Okay, let me remove such properties. And inside h1, I will simply say hello, welcome. Okay. After that, after this div, I will go write maybe an p tag, and that p tag says my name, that's Adfar Rashid. Okay. Can I say as of now that these two elements are part of a container, that is this div? Can I say that? Of course, yes. Now, what is the current font size of this H1? We know that's 2EM, but we don't know what EM means. Can I also say one other thing? Since I have to make you understand what this definition means. This definition you will find on the internet. If you read what is 1 EM, you will simply say relative to the font size of current element. But what do we mean by current element? In HTML, always remember the element inherits properties from the parents. Okay. So for this div, if I go and write my div, and for this div, if I simply say its font size is, for this div, if I say its font size is, let's suppose 30 pixel. So does not that automatically mean that it will actually make sure font size of this H1 is 30 pixel, font size of this p tag is 30 pixel? Let's see. So I will go inside inspector and I will try to find for this element H1. So let me click on and let me try to find out this H1. And for this H1, although the font size is 60 pixel. Now we need to understand why 60 pixel. We will understand that as well. And if I go over here, if I click on this, you can see 30 pixel. So we can at least right now conclude that the div font size 30 pixel is implemented on p tag. But if I talk about this h1, it says 60 pixel. Why? Because you need to understand, for this h1, browser implements font size 2em. So 2em, 2 into 30 is 60. Now we still don't know what em means. Let me make you understand. Relative to the current font size. Now, if this p tag by default it's 16 pixel, by default it's 32 pixel, but we all know that these values it's inheriting from parents. So this current font size of both of these elements becomes 30 pixel. Do we all agree with that? So once I implement the div, font size is equals 30 pixel. So H1 becomes 30 pixel, P becomes 30 pixel. Although browser implements 2em, we will discuss that later on. But can I say that current font size for both of the elements becomes 30 pixel? Yes or no? Yes or no? Even if I go, let me write B tag and I will simply say hello. And even for this B tag as well, if I try to find for this hello, you can clearly see font size becomes 30 pixel. And if I make this 40 pixel, the same font size is implemented on B tag, the same font size implemented on this Adfar Rashid if you find its computed value 40 pixel, right? Over here, and same is implemented on this hello welcome becomes 80 pixel. But this is my current font size. Now if I go to my h1 tag, although it's already there, and for this h1 tag, let me remove this h1 tag as of now, or let me comment it. So for this h1 tag, if I implement font size, and font size, let me say to 3em. So what is 3 into current font size? 3 into 40 is 3 into 40 is 120, and you can clearly see it's 120. It is clearly, you can clearly see it's 120. If I go write my p tag, and for p tag I will implement font size is equals to, let's say, 2em. So 2 into current font size, 2 into current is 40 and it becomes 80. So you can clearly see, if I go to my p tag, you can see font size became 80 pixel. Yes or no? So at least I can say that we do not understand what em is, but we are going there. आ रहा है थोड़ा सा, है ना? अब थोड़ा सा और इसको आगे बढ़ाते हैं. Let's suppose the div does not have any font size mentioned. This div does not have any font size mentioned. You can simply select that line, control and slash, and it will be commented. em key definition is this, that it is related to the font size of current element. I will tell you why it's current element, although there are two definitions for it, which I will make you understand. Control plus slash, exactly. Pay close attention. Now, when I removed, there was for this div font size 40 pixel. And if I remove this font size, do you think now for this element, for this element, for this element, current font size remained 40 pixel anymore? Of course not. So in that case, it will go to parent and it will see from parent where I will get a font size. And from parent, its parent is body, and I have not mentioned any font size for this. But for body, what is its current font size? It will get from the root element. And root element's font size is 16 pixel. Yes or no? And you can clearly see that now if I try to go for this particular p tag, 2 into 16 is 32 pixel. If I try to go for this particular h1, 2 into 16 is 48 pixel. So it means em is not fixed. Em simply depends on where from it's getting its font size. If it is getting its font size from near parent, it will be simply related to that. If it is getting it from grandparent, it will be related to that. For example, in this div that I have, let me control X this. Let me put another div with a class over there, let's say main. And for this main, I will simply put this div inside it. And maybe over I will simply say h2 tag. It says, hey, now see for this p tag, it has this parent, then it has another parent, then it has body. Now if I go, let me try to target them all one by one, and let me make class over there is equals to main2. Okay, so I will go inside this, I will target this main class with a dot here. So dot main for this font size over there is equals to 20 pixel. Very good. Then I will simply drag a little bit down, main2 font size over here is going to be equals to 30 pixel. Now tell me, What does that mean? If I have implemented font size like this for this P tag, H1 and B tag, it will receive font size from its nearest parent only. And that nearest parent is main2. So what is main2? 30 pixel. 30 pixel, yes or no? So its current font size is 30 pixel. So in that case, 3 into 30 is, and if I try to find H1, 3 into 30 is 90. And if I try to find out for P tag 2em, so 2 into 30 is 60, and you can clearly see. But tell me one thing, one small thing. If you answer this, I can understand that you have understood this topic. If I remove main2 font size, in that particular case, tell me quickly, what will be the font size of P tag now? Because now current font size changed. It was because of main2, but now main2 is removed, so it will try to find current font size first of all from here, but it does not have anything. Now it will go to parent, grandparent, and over here it will 20. So 2 into 20 is 40, and 3 into 20 is 60, and you can clearly see that. So it's 60, and for this element it is 40. I hope you have understood what em means. Am I clear? Am I clear? Am I clear? Am I clear? 40 is not default. EM is not default. EM will change. EM will change. Depends on the current font size it's receiving. It will receive it from current parent or grandparent or grandparent or wherever. But ultimately, tell me one thing. If none of its parent gives it the current font size, it will eventually reach to HTML. In that particular case, it will be relative to the HTML, and that is your 16 pixel. If none of the parents give its current font size, right? Please ask that, Basu. Whatever your question is, you can put it in the chat quickly, right? I hope you understand that. But I have one another thing. We still cannot understand what current means. Sir, why are we writing current here? So the definition that you gave, and we saw it working in the output as well, maybe definition would have that one em means relative to the font size of the current element depends on what parent gives it current element, right? That is something that we need to understand. What is current? I will teach you current. But before that, Basu asked a question. If font size not mentioned, very good. Let's suppose over here, Basu, that over here there's no font size mentioned. It means it will not give this, very good. Over here it's not mentioned. It means this parent will not give it any font size. Then its parent is body. यहाँ पे भी नहीं है. So of course this is not going to give it font size. But eventually we know one thing, root element has some font size implemented on it. And what is that? 16 pixel. In that case, it will be 16 pixel because ultimately it will go from the root element. If you change the root element, it becomes. So can I say this statement in that case, 1 em is equals to 1 rem if no parent gives it a font size? Can I say that? 1 em means 1 rem if none of its parents gives it font size. So I can now conclude 1 rem is a special case of 1 em. 1 rem is a special case of 1 em. Okay, I hope that you understood that. Now I have one small thing here. Okay, sir, we still did not understand what current means. I will teach you what current means. Let's suppose, now tell me one thing here. For this P element, since it receives from this main font size 20 pixel, so what is font size of 2em? What is font size of 2em? Sorry, font size of P element, it's 40 because 2 into 20 is 40. Do we all agree with that? It's 40. And for this H1, I can simply say the font size is 60. We all agree with that? Of course, yes. Can I say in this case, this is something very interesting, okay? Can I say in this case, once I implemented 3em, 2em, the current font size of P becomes 40 pixel now? Once I implement 2em, can I say that? The current font size of H1 becomes 60 pixel? Can I say that? Of course, yes. In that case, now if I go write width, and if I write width, Let me write 2em. Understand definition. Em in this case means relative to the current font size. Now, what is its p stack current font size? It is, will it go to parent or will it go to current? What is current? What is current? Current is 40. Current is not 20 in this case because font change got updated. Yes, in this case, if I would have not mentioned font size, then it would have been 20 pixel. But don't you think when I wrote font size equals 2em, this 2em and this 2em is not same? This is the beauty of em. This is something that no one explains and you always have a confusion about. Don't you think? Okay, let me ask you a question. Let me try to rephrase it in a different way. Do you think, according to you, leave everything aside, whatever you know about HTML and CSS, do you think that this 2em and this 2em should be same? This 2em and this 2em should be same. Do you think that? Of course, yes. Yes, sir, it should be same. Yes, sir, it should be same. Of course, sir. That's what you have written same values. Of course, it's same. Yes, sir. But see, let me go to this p tag. Okay. Let me click on this p tag. What is font size? Font size is 40 pixel. But what is width? Width is 80 pixel. Because in this case, it will go and find the current font size relative to the current font size, and that is 40. So 2 into 40 is 80. If I go right for this, let me write height over there is equals to 3em. Tell me what is 3em in this case? Tell me what is 3em in this case? Quickly give me a confirmation in the chat. Quickly. What is 3em in this case? Is this 3em and this 3em same? Of course not. See, read, properly read. So over here, em means current font size. Since I am implementing it in front of em, it means it will go to the current font size. Since it does not have any current font size, it will go to the parent. So 20 into 33 is 60. Then if I go here, read and explain, talk to yourself. So 3 into current font size, 3 into current font size, that is 60. 3 into 60 is 180. I hope that makes sense. That is why we write here that it is relative to the current font size. It is relative to the current font size, because em is not just that we have to use it in front of font size and all these properties. No, it can be implemented in front of width, in front of height, in front of any wire that you think of, even border, padding, margin, height, width, all the things that you can write. So that's what we mean by em. No, it won't be 240, although let's see. So that it will be 3 into 20 60, it will be 180. So if I go here and if I try to find out, you can see height is equal to 180. So it's 180. We will take a break after 20 minutes, exactly at 7:20 Nima's time. Okay, we will take break at that point of time. Okay, so I hope we have understood the difference between what em and rem is. Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat, and then I will move forward with the rest of the one as of now, not all three. I will discuss one other relative unit quickly. You may yes or no. Everyone must reply. All the 43 students must reply. Perfectly fine. I hope you have understood this. You have gotten a clear understanding. Honestly, tell me, those students who knew EM and REM, do you think you learned something new? I'm pretty much sure if you are not the already student of mine, then you would have definitely learned something new. Okay. There's one another unit that we talk about today. It's called percent. Okay. And of course, this VH and VW we will discuss later on when we will go to our responsive web design. But as of now, we will try to understand percent. Let's suppose over there, I will go and create a div over here somewhere. Let me create a div. Okay. And in this div, I will go, maybe I will say welcome to my batch again. And you can see something. It says welcome to my batch, right? And let me do one other thing for this. Okay, let's keep it like this. For this div, I will give it a class name, and class name is going to be, it's a div. That's it. Let me target this div, dot div. And I will go right. Let's suppose width pixel, this background color is equals to, let's make it visible aqua, right? And you can see aqua like this. Although let me increase the width because it's too much small, 300 pixel. It is something like this. Although let me make it much more than that, 700 pixel. You can see it looks like this. Very good. Perfectly fine. After that, I will go and I will simply target my h1 whose class is heading. Okay, so let me write class over there, and that class is heading. Now I want to target this heading here. So dot heading. For this heading, I want to implement my width property. Now percentage is a property. Percentage is a property that always will deal with its respective property, which means width will correspond to width, font size will correspond to font size, and similarly height to height and margin to margin, and so on and so forth. If I go, what is the width here? What is the width here? What is the width here? 700 pixel. Let me go, first of all, for this heading, I will implement background color. Let me implement it red. Okay. And you can see red, although let's do one thing, width now. Width, I will write 50%. But what does 50% mean? 50% simply mean that it will always be related to its immediate parent. That's it. So 50% of the width of the parent. So what is the width of the parent? 750% means 350 pixel. That's it. So percentage, some people are a little bit confused that percentage means percentage of device width. No. Its percentage is related to the parent, immediate parent that it has. So what is the parent of this heading class? It's div. So if width is 700 pixel, what is 50% of width? Let's try to find out that. So if I go to inspect to go over here on this h1 tag, right? And for this, if I try to find its width, it's 350 pixel. Let's go over it. Let me implement font size. So if I implement font size is equals to 30 pixel. So automatically it makes 30 into 2 is 2 em. Very good. So 60 pixel. But now what I will do is I will go write font size for this element is equals to 20%. So what is 20% of 30 pixel? Can anyone tell me that? It is 6 pixel, right? Your math should be something like that. And you can clearly see it's 6 pixel here. So 20% of 30 pixel is 6. And you can see 6 pixel. So I hope percentage is not that, difficult to understand. It's a very simple straight that it's related to the parent. So if parent font, and it's also EM and REM will always be related to the font size only. So it's not like in width, if you're at 2 em, it will be related to the width of some other element. No, it will be always related to the font size. I hope that makes sense. Okay. But if we talk about percentage, respective properties with the respective properties, width to width, height to height, font size to font size, so on and so forth. And I hope percentage is also clear. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat so that we can move forward and we can start our new topic quickly. I hope you understood what EM and REM means. Okay. Everyone must reply in the chat with a proper yes or no. Proper yes or no. Is there any way we can clear our doubt over the voice conference instead of chat? Not in this class, but for sure from this week we will start our proper doubt sessions be as well. That will be on Google Meet where you will be allowed to come on, stage and we will discuss it there. Okay, Bisma says you are going a little bit fast. If in such case, usually I get such feedbacks that you speak a little bit fast. That's completely true. But the topics that I teach, do we have any confusion in that? If you are not able to understand any topic, then definitely let me know anyone and we will repeat that topic. Sir, when and why to use different units? I will tell you that. I will tell you that. Patience, patience. We will, for that, Sukhjot, I have a application that we will create where you will get a clear understanding why to think of pixel, why to think of REM, why to think of EM, and why to think of percentage. As of now, you understood what these units are. We will create a small project after we complete three more classes. Then we have a project in which we will understand completely why to use all these things. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Perfectly fine. Very good. And I will go and create body before I move forward. And let me stop a little bit because there's a feedback that I'm going a little bit fast. Let's come back to EM and REM quickly. Okay, for 1-2 seconds, not 1-2 minutes, not more than that. Guys, we all know one thing, which even in today's class as well we discussed, that our web page implements some design on it. Now tell me one thing. If I write some text here, this text, what is the font size of this text that my browser has implemented? What is that? It's of course very good. It is 16 pixel, right? Now when we implement my H1, okay, for this H1 I will write Adfar Rashid, okay. Now what is the current font size of H1 that HTML is going to give it? What is the current font size of this H1 that HTML is going to give it? Of course, 16 pixel, right? Very good. Let's go over here. Let's try to see the inspect. Now, when we talk about the default font size of this H1 tag, you can clearly see it is 2EM. So it means for H1, it is 2EM. For H2, if I write some text here, you can see if I try to see for this H2, you can see it's 1.5 EM. So what is the current font size? Of course, body does not give any font size to it. So it will eventually get font size from HTML. That's 16 pixel. So 2 into EM means 32 pixel, or 1.5 into 16 is equals to 24. That's why you can see over here 24 pixel, because EM in this case is 16 pixel. But let's go and implement one small thing. EM is bound to change. EM is bound to change. Yes or no? REM is always going to be relative to the root element, HTML element. But if I talk about EM will always, EM depends. It can be the first parent, second parent, third parent, fourth parent, so on and so forth. Let's suppose inside this case, if I implement style, and let me try to tell it for my body. If my font size is equals to, let's suppose I will make font size 30 pixel. Do you think that will have any effect on this H1 and H2? Quickly tell me that. If I implement font size 30 pixel, do you think that's going to make an impact on H1 and H2? Of course, yes. Right? Of course, yes. It is going to. Why? Because EM is not linked to my HTML element, but EM is linked to the current font size. So if I make my font size to be 30 pixel, you can clearly see now it becomes over there 45. Why is the font size of this text element, H2 element, 45? Because it's 1.5 EM. So that is why you need to understand why by default, if I don't implement any change, why it is 32 pixel, why my H2 is 24 pixel, why my H3 is something 20 pixel, something like that, because it's relative to each other. It's relative to each other. Basu, as I said, when to use, see, it's always about relativeness. When we want relativity inside our, not physics relativity, but unit relativity inside our web document, in that case we will use REM and EM. But we will understand properly with an example. We will create a small portfolio kind of project in which we will properly understand why we need to use REM and EM, because it depends on the browsers, because ultimately you need to understand. Let me even give you a small glimpse of that, like why do we use REM and EM, and why are they most used in your code. Instead of pixel, you will see REM and EM used most of the time, not pixel. Pixel is in rare cases, but in most of cases we will use REM and EM. Do you think you will even understand it yourself if I ask you this question? Do you think that actually the font size, if I don't implement anything, is decided by the browser itself? Decided by the browser itself? Like HTML has 16 pixel. It's decided by the browser itself. So font size, eventually, the nature of font size or length units is relative in its nature, even from the very beginning. So if it is relative in the nature, and you being the consumer of a browser, it means devices. So you are consumers of browser. So of course you would want that your web application should be compatible with your browser. So that's why we need relative units. But as I said, we will create a small web application inside it. Okay, don't worry about that. I hope that makes sense. So with this, we have completed our relative units. No, we have not. There are two more relative units that we have. It's called view height and view width, view edge, VH and VW. But we will discuss this later on when we will discuss about our responsive web design. Let's discuss one another very important topic, HTML related. Okay, and that is our tables. But what do we mean by tables? First of all, see, there are two things that people do very much, wrong about tables. They understand tables as content, but tables is not necessarily for content. It's for layout actually. But what do we mean by layout? Let's try to understand that first of all. We know that when we go to, sir, we will take a break. We will take a break in 10 minutes, Sadi. We will take a break exactly at 7:20. Okay, we'll take a break of 10 minutes. Don't worry about that. So I will go write HTML tables here, right? If I write HTML tables, let me go to images. You can see a content like this. Of course, you can think that this is a content, but honestly tell me, have you seen such kind of content on your web pages nowadays? Do you see such kind of content on your web pages? Of course not. We don't see. Rarely, very rarely, we see such kind of content. Yes, we see in sheets and all those things, but not on websites because we look at tables from the wrong perspective. Do you see, honestly tell me, do you see a content like this? Of course not. Even if you see it in a table format, but it is well designed. So we look at the tables in a wrong perspective, first of all, maybe on old websites. Even nowadays, you don't see HTML tables implemented that much. We use CSS grid for layout. But what is layout? This is what we mean by layout. Okay. I will go to Amazon.in. Okay. Now, when you look at this Amazon.in, even let me use a very simple website. Give me a website name, very simple website. Give me a very simple website name. Let's say Nutlify or Spotify. Let's say Spotify. Okay. Let me go to Spotify. Very simple website, very simple design. Now look at this website. Let's suppose you are a creator of this website. What do you think? What are you going to create first? The point is that when a website developer approaches a website, the approach is completely different. Okay. Since I have worked as a developer, I know how we approach our websites and how, as a fresher, I used to approach our website in a wrong way. Even maybe most of you might be doing the same thing still. When you look at this website, what is the first thing that comes up in your mind? Like, what is the first thing that you will create there? Quickly tell me. Quickly tell me. When you look at this website, let's suppose you are the developer. You have to design, you have to code this, you have to write HTML, CSS for it. Tell me what is the first thing that comes up in your mind? What do you think? I need some answers. Very good. Abhi says structure. You know, explain it a little bit more. What do you mean by structure? Do you think that the first thing, requirements, you have all the requirements, it's already in front of you. This is what a requirement is. Very good. Inline elements, very good. Structure layout, very good. Sign up page, very good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Divs, okay. Explain that a little bit more. What div mean? Anyone else? See, there's one small mistake that we as a freshers do when we are trying to learn. Now bar, very good. That's a good answer. But again, it's wrong. Spans wrong, right? The point is, these are the exact answers that I'm expecting from all of you. Exact same answers that I'm expecting from you. Figma is already created. This is what, as I said, this is in front of you. Figma design is already created in front of you. You have to code it. What is the first step that you will do? See, let me tell you what we do wrong. Whenever we create a website, the first thing that we actually think as a website developer is we think of layout. Imagine, we all have imagination powers, okay? No, images, leave that, Shazib. All the things, leave that. Let me tell you what exactly will be the approach. What you do wrong, what we as a fresher do wrong. When I look at this website, I will first of all create its layout. Do you know what layout means? When you build a house, what is the first thing that you do? वो नक्शा आप बनाते हो ना उस मकान का. That's what we mean by layout. I'm not saying on paper, but I'm saying through code you will create layout. Imagine that every container over there is container, but without the content, without these images, without this text. So simply imagine that you have removed these images. Container is there. There's a border proper, but images have been removed. Names have been removed. There is this container, but this text has been removed. There is this container, this text has been removed. There is this navbar, but this text and buttons is being removed. This is what we mean by layout. Let me give you an example. If you have to create a website, this is what you will do. You will first of all, this, sorry, let me select a red pen. Okay, this is what you will do. You will first of all create a first container, maybe like this. Although I'm not saying the exact, this is what we will do here, but 90% cases will be this. You will create a container. In this container, you will first of all see the layout. Okay, over here I have one container. Very good. Then over here I have another container from here to here. Very good. Okay, inside this container I have more three containers. So this is one, this is second, this is third. Okay, then over here I have this container, one container from here to here. Okay, then in this container I have this from here to here, one container. Then I have this as a whole container. Then I have this container in which I have more six containers, six, seven containers. Below I have this container, then this. So the first thing that we do is we kind of create the skeleton of it, layout of it, arrange the layout properly, use proper layout techniques, flex, grid, tables, rows and columns. That's what we will do first, although that's the last thing that we learn in HTML, CSS, but that's the first thing. We will first of all create layout of it. Once we create layout, then putting content is a very small thing. Because if you already know, if you already tell it that in this container I am putting 7 items in a single row, simply remove those rows, then later on with the images, you already have the design. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That is what the first thing that we do. Even let me tell you exactly with an example, maybe from a Google, we will try to find out what actually layout means. Okay. So I will simply go here and I will simply say that let me talk about layout, CSS layout, and let me go to images. And you can clearly see this is what we mean by layout. So when we talk about creating web page, you first of all arrange your containers, the parts of your website properly in a proper manner. And then later on put the content on it. Later on put the buttons. When I started my web development in 2018, around that, you know what I used to do? Whenever I used to create a assignment or small thing, first thing, div h1, directly h1. No, don't do that. Create the layout first. Implement layout techniques first. Once you implement layout techniques, your website will be piece of cake. Am I clear? This is what we mean by layout. Like this is what we mean by layout. That I have created a layout. I know over here I have to put image, image, image. I will remove these contents, put images here. Layout technique is already implemented, so it will already be then properly aligned. I hope that makes sense. So this is what we mean by layout. Now, when we talk about layout designing, there can be two types of when to create. First, the first step is to create layout. The main, once you get a design from UX designer, once you get your design from your UI and UX designer, the first thing that you will do is you will create the layout. And I will give you proper techniques. I am here, I will teach you proper layout techniques. But when we talk about layout techniques, okay, if you look at this layout, this layout, this layout, or any such layout examples here, you can see even this is one of the best examples of layout. See, if I have to create a website that looks like this, there's a nav bar. This is what layout I will create first. Then I will put elements in it. One of the very best examples that you can see on the internet. We will create such layouts on our in this session as well. Okay, in this course as well. Don't worry about it. Okay. But if I talk about layouts, there are two types of layouts that we have. Let me ask you a question, then we will take a break of 10 minutes. Okay. Guys, tell me one thing. When we talk about arranging elements, set of elements, in how many ways can elements be aligned on your device? In two ways. One dimensional or two dimensional. Either your elements can be in a single row or single column. For example, if I go to Amazon, do you see that these elements in this container are in a single row? It's one dimensional layout. This is called one dimensional layout. But if I talk about this container that I have, there are two columns, two rows. It means multi-dimensional design. So when we talk about layout, there are two types of layouts that we have: one dimensional layout, two dimensional layout, and there are techniques for it. And earlier, when we used to create two dimensional layouts, the elements we used to use to create such types of layouts, or to put our elements in rows and column structure, we used to use one very important HTML element called as HTML tables. But nowadays we don't do that. We use proper CSS techniques called as grid. But I will still teach you what HTML tables are, because there are some interview questions that might arise from this. So we'll take a break of 10 minutes now. But before we take a break, give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Sir, we are clear until now. Let's take a break. Quickly. Everyone must reply. Very good. Very good. Shall we take a break? Very good. Very good. Perfect. Okay. All good. So we'll take a break as of now, and then exactly after 10 minutes, I'm going to start with the session. See you guys very soon. Hey guys, hi everyone, welcome back. Hello everyone, hi guys. Let me put a message in the WhatsApp group. Perfect, great. Okay, I can see a few people joining back. I think we can start. Am I audible? Hi guys, I hope I'm audible, right? Perfect, great. So we have discussed various topics in today's class. Although my agenda was much more than that, but I think we had have a very good discussion, right? So let's move towards our next topic. That's called as HTML tables. Let's take any example over here. Let's me take a very simple example. Let's suppose when we talk about creating HTML tables, this is the table that I want to create. Leave style aside, but you can understand the structure. So according to this structure that you can see table with borders and padding, leave borders and padding. But do you, first of all, tell me how many rows and how many columns are there? In this particular design, how many rows and how many columns are there? We know what rows are, we know what columns mean, right? Everyone in your childhood childhood when we used to submit those assignments, we used to create tables. We have same tables here. So we have number 1 row, number 2 row, number 3 row, number 4 row. Now in order to create a table inside our HTML, the tag that we use is itself a table tag. So we define a table tag. But of course, when we write table, it simply means that I am intending to create a table here. That's what I want to do, nothing else. Okay. Always remember and put this point in your mind. That is, whenever we try to create tables inside our HTML, we always create and approach with number of rows. How many rows I have? So how many rows we have here? 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 row. So whatever you design you want to create, you have a row. You know what rows are. You will always create with help of rows. You never talk about columns. There's no tag for columns. There's only tag for rows. So in order to create a row, we use tr. We use tr. So how many rows I have? I have tr. So 4 rows. Even though I created tr, you don't see any change in the output. Of course not. Why? Because I have not put a content there. Now, I have told it that I want a table element inside my web application and it has 4 rows. Of course, I will wrap it inside table, done and dusted. But after that, if you closely look at this design, how many elements, table cells I have in every row? So in this row, one table cell, another table cell, another table cell, one table data, another table data, another table data. So in every row, I have 3 table datas. And in order to create a table data, we use a tag called as TD. So let me simply write TD is equals to name. Then you can see a proper change in the output. It says name. Then I will go write another TD. What was another TD? It was job title and email address. So let me write job title. And then finally, I will go write one other TD called as email address. Very good. And you can see a row over there. Although it does not give you a feeling of a row, which we will eventually get, but as of now, we can understand that they are in a single line. They are in a single row. There's name, there's job title, and there is email address inside this table. We create a row. Then in a similar way, another tr over there, another row, it contains the data items to these values. Let's suppose it is name is Adfar. Okay, so let me write Adfar. Job title is, let's suppose I am an as of now instructor here. So let me write instructor, and in a similar way, I will write email as adfar adfar at the rate of adfar.com. So you can clearly see that each data item is actually below to their corresponding names. Very good. And let me put the same data, because as I said, it's not about data, it's about understanding the concept. So let me put same data items here, same data items here. Very good. So this is what our table looks like. So whenever we want to create a table, the main parent that will wrap all the items is table. Then, in order to create a single row, we use a tag called as TR, stands for table row. TR stands for table row. And in every row, the data items we want to create is TD. So, how many columns you want, those many table data items you will write. TD stands for table data. But if you talk about this particular table, does it give you a feeling of table? Even though I can maybe make myself, I can convince myself that this is a data, but it does not give you that feel. Let's bring that feel inside our web application right now. First of all, between this particular table and between this particular table, what is the difference? The difference is that there is one row that itself explains and speaks that I am table heading. The items are little bit bold inside that row, right? You can see name is bold, job title is bold, email address is bold. So whenever you have such data items that you want to behave as table data heading for them, we don't write actually TD, but we write TH called as table head. We write TH called as table head. We write TH called as table head. So the first row right now, there's first change in the output that we have, and this change is called table data. What is the change? The change is called table data to table head. Is this clear? That now we understood what table head is. Perfectly fine. Second thing, if I look at this table that I have, now there's one very important thing, which is there are borders missing. And borders is CSS. So if we want border, it means we have to implement CSS, right? That's what it means, CSS. And we know for borders, what is the property? So I will simply go write table. And for table, I will simply tell it, please implement border. 2 pixel, solid, and let's suppose red. And if I do that, you can clearly see. Now for the table, for this parent, there is border. But do you think this border and this border is exactly what we want? Of course not. But there's column and rows border, which means I will tell it to implement border on the items individually as well. So I will simply go tell it over there. TD. Instead of writing it separately, because since I want the same property, I will go over there, put a comma. And then I will simply write for my TD, comma, for my TH. Do you know what this selector means? This is one another type of selector called as group selector. If there are multiple selectors or multiple elements to which you want to implement same properties, you can write those selectors by comma, comma. You can separate them by comma, comma. If we implement it like that, it means it's a group selector. It means I am telling it, implement this property on TH, on TD, on table. And you can see on every single item, there's a border. But there's still one issue. Do you think that this is what we want? Although we got a little bit feeling of our table, but do you think this is what I want? This is not exactly what this is. There are multiple borders, they are next to each other. Whenever you have such case inside your web application, there are multiple borders that are joining, not joining, but they are next to each other, and you simply want to turn them into one. Let's suppose this top and this below, you want to turn them into one. This left and this right, this border, you want implement them and turn them, make them into one. In that case, the CSS property that we use is called border collapse. So what is the property called? Border collapse. And you simply write collapse. It means I am simply telling it that wherever you have borders, multiple borders next to each other, simply collapse them and turn them into one. Now, is this table and this table exactly same? Of course, yes. Although there's a padding, you can implement padding. By the way, what is padding? Padding is the distance between the content and the border. So you can simply 10 pixels. So every element will have a padding now. And you can clearly understand that it is a proper table. So the most important takeaway from this is this property. Because when you implement border, I am telling it, table पे भी border लगाओ, implement a border on table, then implement on every data item, on every name around this, around this, around this, around this, and on every th as well, td as well. So of course, when there are you implement such properties inside your code, there are going to be borders next to each other. Now, our point, our agenda, and our structure that we want here, that we want to collapse these borders into one. In that particular case, we use a property called as border collapse. And border collapse. It has two values. Let's suppose there is sometimes by default a collapse. You want to change that. You can use separate in that case. Separate means I don't want collapse, keep them separate. But if you want to combine them, please implement a collapse value here. Okay, I hope this is clear. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. So we understood what border collapse means. We understood what this is. And we understood also that border cannot be implemented using HTML. We have to implement CSS for that. And we also understood that this is a group selector. This is called group selector. If anyone asks us in the interviews, you will simply say group selector is that selector in which we simply want to group multiple selectors together so that same properties can be implemented on all these things. And also remember, when we say group selector, it does not mean there will be only name selectors. Maybe over here you write class, maybe ID, maybe name. It can be combination of anything, but it is simply that those elements share the same property. That's it. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now, one moving forward, because this is not the entire structure that we have. Okay, when we talk about tables, although even to make your table work, this is enough. You can create tables, although let me remove the last row. Let's keep it in one view. So you can understand from here to here, I have a table. Very good. Even if you keep it like that, it's completely okay. But remember one very important thing. The most important thing for a web developer is you have to make sure your browser is satisfied. Your entire task is to make your browser happy. So when we talk about this table, browser will try to format it on its own as well. And let me go and try to see what changes my browser has implemented on this. If I open this particular table, you can clearly see there is a tag in front of you that browser has implemented on its own. That's T-body. T-body, T-body. Do you think I implemented it over here? Do you see a tag with the name of T-body? Of course not. So no, sir, I don't see that. So if I don't see it, why is it here? Because as I said, browser wants to make itself happy. Browser knows what it is dealing with. Browser knows I am dealing with table because table is the tag that I provided. But if I talk about tables, table can be divided into three parts. Number one is, let me take example of any table here. Let me take a better example here. If I can find anyone, some. Let's see. Maybe somewhere else I can find a better example of this. So if I try to find a better example, this one, very good. Okay, look at this particular table. If I talk about this table, I can clearly say that the top row that I have, it denotes my table head. Yes or no? Then next three rows that I have, they denote table body. They are part of the body that we have. And if I talk about the bottom row, it denotes my foot of the table. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Please tell me. Am I clear, guys? Am I clear? Do we think that? If I talk about this table, the top row denotes my table head. The below three rows denotes my table body. They are the body. If I talk about structure, because ultimately HTML is not about structure. HTML is formatting that structure. H1 formats text, H2 formats text. So it's about formatting. So when we talk about this web application, this table, always remember table can have three parts: head, body, and foot. But if I talk about this particular example, this particular row, it also treats as part of the table body. Is that correct according to our requirements? Is this what we want to tell our browser? That even the name, job title, email address, it is part of table body? No, it is part of table head. This is the heading. I want browser to understand this row as table head. So for that particular thing, there are three more tags that might be implemented inside your table. So you properly categorize it. This row, I will put it in table head. So that browser will understand that this row is part of table head. Now these two rows, I will control X and I will put them in table body. So let me put them in table body. So it means now I am explaining properly browser that now please understand this table contains two parts now. It's not just one part but two parts, table head and table body. As of now, according to this table, I don't have any foot for this, but whenever I will have foot, I will put that in T foot as well. Completely up to me. Depends on me. Depends on my requirements. Now, what is the advantage of this? The advantage of this is now I can target this whole, and even there's a possibility that there might be multiple rows in T head. I can target all of those rows under one category now called as T head. So T head behaves as a container for that particular row that belongs to my T head. Let's suppose before this, if this was my case, there was no T head, there was only TRs. I want you to implement background color for this as yellow, as mentioned in the previous table. How are you going to do that? You will say, sir, I will do one thing. I will go and tell it for my TR, make the background color as yellow. But don't you think in this case it will implement background color of every element as yellow? You understand what I'm trying to say? It makes every, because TR is this as well, TR is this as well, TR is this as well. So we have to make sure that we need to implement something different. So for that, we can categorize it like this. What am I going to do? I am going to make it the part of T head. Now, someone said, please make an ID of it. We can, of course, do that. But what if there are multiple rows and there can be always, better replies to that? Okay, ID, but I want two rows inside that. So T head, it's not just about CSS here, it's actually telling my browser as well, that this row I want browser, I'm talking to browser, hey browser, treat this as head of the table. I don't want you to treat this as the normal row, it's a special row. So browser will give it a better preference. I hope that makes sense. And now, of course, if even if you don't put these T rows in T body, browser automatically puts some tags there, implement some styling, automatically puts it in T body. Yes, if there is any row, you can use another tag there called as T foot. There's one other tag that you can use called as T foot, in which you can write TR, and in which you can simply put, let's say I will put TH is equals total. But now there's one small thing that we want to understand. One small thing. If I talk about foot of your table like this, in most of the cases, do you see that? Let me take an example of this as well. That my item is expanded to multiple rows or multiple columns. There's a possibility that my element, in this case, if you see this element is expanded to multiple columns. It starts from here and it ends over here. Do you see that? Let me take one another example. If I talk about this one, do you see this particular table, this particular item expands to two rows? This particular item expands to two rows. This particular temperature expands to two columns. And that is what my requirement in this case as well. Because I don't have any total, but I want to write summary inside this cell. But that summary should be actually expanded to all these rows, all these columns, to the whole table, which means I want this particular item to start from here and it should end over here. That's what I want, right? Let me change this to T head. This is what I want. That this total should be starting from here and it should end over here. Now tell me one thing. Why do I want to expand it? Do I want to expand it through rows or columns? I want this item to take one column, two column, three column. Whenever I have such requirement inside my table, we use an attribute on that data item called as call span. If I want to span it, span का मतलब होता है फैलाना. If I want to allow it to multiple columns, in that case, I need to simply write the number in front of it. You can see now this particular item has expanded it column wise to three columns. It takes name, job title, and email address. Now, one other thing. I hope you understood what column span means. Let's suppose you can see that for this adfar, I want to simply expand this instructor to the two columns. I don't want adfar, add rate of adfar. I don't want this item there. No. I simply want that this instructor should expand it to two columns. So what is the attribute that I will use? I will go to that item first, which I want to expand span. I will go to that particular item here. I will write call span because I want to span it with respect to columns. And I will write 2 here because that's what I want to do. And you can see now this particular item has expanded itself to 2 entities here, 2 columns here. For that, the attribute, and this is the interview question. What is call span? What is row span? Row span we will talk about in few minutes, but what is call span? What is row span? This is something that is asked very much in the interviews. I hope you have understood what call span is. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat so that we can understand one last attribute of today's class called as row span. Quickly. Very good. Now let me do Control Z and let me get this table back. Do you see that in this particular table that I have, over here the data is adfer at rate of adfer136, over here adfer at rate of adfer.com, sorry, not 136, right? So these two data items are same. So why don't I share this same entity to 2 rows? Instead of writing it again, I will simply tell it that this adfer first should expand span itself with respect to 2 rows. So I will remove the second adfer. I don't need this, and I will go over here, implement row span, because this time I want to span it with respect to row, and I will write 2 here. Now when I did that, you can clearly understand now 2 rows are pointing to same cell called as adfer at rate of adfer.com. This is what we mean by row span. Let's suppose in a similar way, because instructor and instructor, they are also same. So what will I do here? Let's suppose name is adfer1 and adfer2. I have 2 different names, but instructor is same also. Email was same. Now I want to expand this instructor to 2 rows as well. What will I do is with respect to instructor? First of all, second instructor, I will remove it because this is no longer used. This is no longer required, but I will go over here and I will tell it to expand itself with respect to rows. Now tell me what is the attribute that I will use for that. Quickly tell me. What is the attribute that I will use to expand it? Very good. I will go to the data item. Don't put these attributes on the rows, but put such attributes to the item itself. So I will go write row span. Okay, so I will write row span here and I will tell it 2. So instruct is now expanded to 2 rows as well. And this is now tell me one thing, okay, guys. If I give you an assignment, in that assignment, I will tell you to create a table that looks like this. Will you be able to create a table like this? In which the top one, although there's one tag called as table caption, you can use that as well, but you can ignore that because you can put that element directly as well. Do you think that you can actually create a table that looks like this, in which rows are expanded to multiple items are expanded to multiple rows, or maybe multiple columns as well, or maybe both? Let's suppose over here, this particular item instructor that I have, I want to expand it to 2 rows as well. So I can also use over there, I will simply call span as 2. But of course, in that case, I have to make sure that I will remove another column in the another application that I have, this one, because since it does not make any sense, so I will remove this. So if I remove it now, it makes sense. Otherwise, there will be the something wrong there because the number of items are not matching with respect to row and with respect to rest of the rows. So you have to make sure that. So even in a single tag, you can use row span, call span as well. For example, for this table that I have, there's one item. If you see this one, no, there's no item. This one maybe no, this it's a simple, not this one. But maybe in another example, you can see the same item can be expanded to multiple rows and multiple columns as well. Depends. Okay. If you want an empty, you can see there is this table that it's an empty cell. In that case, simply create TD and keep it empty, and it will be empty there. Remember that. Empty, it can be empty as well. Depends on you. Okay. I hope we have completely understood our today's topics as well. Let me share the Google Classroom link. Make sure you add proper comments here, not with respect to that feedback and all that things, but with respect to your like what you have discussed, what you have learned in today's class. That determines whether you are present or absent. Okay, if you put a proper valid comment and I understood that you were in part of the class, Although I understand from the comment section as well, I remember I have a team member here that is in the this live as well, who take continuously screenshot of the students. So I understand who is watching class or not. Okay, so make sure that you add that comment properly to mark your attendance properly. So let me share that Google Form link. Give me a second in the chat section. And also one thing, I will post this code to the GitHub. So allow me a second only. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. So we have this August. What is this? What is the name of this? August 24 batch, let's suppose. Okay. So I will create a this GitHub repository you need so that I can share code with you, right? So allow me a second so that I can give you the code link where you can find all of the code that we have been doing until now. Okay. Ignore whatever I am doing. If you are seeing this Git bash and GitHub first time, it's completely okay. I will give you 1-2 class on GitHub as well, and I will teach you how we can implement all these things. Okay. So allow me a second, and I will share the link over here as well. Okay. What have we discussed today? Lists, units, and tables. So whatever we will do in our classes, I have pushed this all code to our GitHub repository. Okay, so you can find your all code in this link. Okay, so let me share this in our chat as well. Bookmark this link, and you can find same files over here. Same files, exact same files. So from now on, whatever coding we will do, we will push those changes to this GitHub repository. If you don't know what GitHub is, it's completely okay. You can find as of now. Just remember, this is where you will find your GitHub. This code that we will do in our classes. Later on, I will teach you GitHub as well. Ignore it. Okay, perfect. So give me the feedback of today's class, and we will wind up. Sir, can we? I will give you marks. Okay, I will try to evaluate them this week, hopefully on Thursday, and you will find your marks. You just need to submit your files or screenshots or whatever you feel. I just somehow have to see what you have done in that assignment. That's it. Okay, perfect. Give me the feedback of today's class, and then we will wind up our today's session. I hope you have enjoyed our session properly. If yes, please make sure that you put a comment after this feed live is done, because whatever comments you put right now, they're not visible later on. Okay, so please put a valuable comment. uh, make sure you do that, because that's what I get after the class. That's it, nothing else. Okay, that's what I want. That's it. So please make sure you put a valuable comment if you have enjoyed the session properly. Wednesday we will have a doubt class. Yes, we will have a doubt class. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. Bye everyone. Good night, and practice as much as you can. Thank you so much. Bye. Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.